This assignment's to do with constructing melodies. I'd encourage you to read the whole of Jurek chapter 7 because it's quite a good introduction to the basic principles that you need to bear in mind when you're writing a melody. I'm going to focus on three of the things that Jurek identifies. The first and most important, I think, is what I've identified as the compositional choice, and Jurek talks about that in the same terms. Jurek suggests that there are three choices at any point when you're writing a melody, any point in the course of writing the thing. You're confronted with three choices about what to do next. You can either repeat material you've had before, or you can repeat something but vary it, or the third choice is you can do something completely new. I actually think that he's splitting hairs, and you can reduce that to two essential choices. You either repeat something, either identically or varied. Very rarely in melodies do we repeat something exactly. So that's why I'm running those two things together. You either repeat something or you do something new, and it's as simple as that. One of the biggest problems that melody writers, student melody writers, fall foul of is to put in too much new material. So let's just look at a very familiar melody that you will all know. So it's very well known, partly because it's a well-constructed melody. It obeys all of the principles that we need to think about when writing a melody. The one I've just mentioned, the notion of repetition or new material. There is only one idea, essentially, and that's this figure here. Call it A. I'll just mark in the variations of A. So if you have a look, the melody is essentially made up of four little phrases, each of which is a variation of the same idea. It's the same rhythm, with the melodic shape of stepping up and down again, stepping up and then down again, and then a leap. A2 is quite a significant variation. You leap up an entire octave. And here is what's technically known as an inversion. Instead of stepping up, you step down. But you can see that what each of them is the elaboration of or variation of a single idea that gets repeated. And it's perfectly reasonable. There's many melodies, famous and beautiful melodies, that consist of one idea, elaborated and varied. You have alternatives. Of course, many melodies introduce new ideas in the courses that they unfold, but one of the most common mistakes that is made is that a melody does too many new things. So when you're writing your melody, try and limit the number of different ideas that you introduce to maybe two or three at maximum, but instead concentrate on varying the ideas that you have. So that's one of the three essential principles that I've listed on the web page. I think repetition or new material. The second is melodic shape, and Jurek talks about this on page 118 in chapter 7. Let me just mark in the melodic shape of this melody. So there's the overall shape of the melody marked in those lines. And it's important when you compose a melody that you don't just write something that jumps higgledy-piggledy all over the place, that there's some logic to the way in which the contour of the melody moves up and down. Jurek does an analysis of the Star-Spangled Banner, which is quite an interesting one. Happy Birthday here does something very typical, which is to move up to the central point, the climactic point, and then move down from that. That arch shape is very typical. And finally, the last thing you have to make sure you do for every melody is make sure that the melodic material is consonant with some underlying harmony. So I'll just put in the chords underneath here so you can see how that works. So there's the chord structure, very simple, 1, 2, 5, and 1, and it just makes the melody have a sense of direction underneath. You can play it through yourself and hear those chords.